Welcome back to Meticulous Mechanic. Yesterday I got the valve lifter off, along with the valve pad, which some people call shims. And if you watched my last video, I calculated out how to get the new valve pad thickness. And I went down to the motorcycle shop and got those. So I pulled all valve lifters off. Now I'm going to see what the timing chain looks like. I had stuffed this rag in here to keep things from falling in. So part 14 and part 15 are the timing chain guide intake side and the timing chain. I'm going to go look in the engine, see if I can see those. So there's the timing chain guide intake side, right down in here. It's hard to see down this hole. Obviously the timing chain. You have to go over to the page on the cylinder head to see part number 5, which is that timing chain guide exhaust side. So you can barely see the timing chain guide exhaust side right here. Then if we try to look down in the hole a little bit, kind of see it. There we go. See if I can focus it. So dark in there. I think that's as good as we're going to see. That little kink you see way down there is just the chain folding over. Obviously this would be smooth. The trick to getting the camshaft back on is to have all of the slack out of the chain coming up over this. So I set the lights up a little better. The timing chain guide intake side, it's actually mounted on a pivot down below. You can see how it just rocks back and forth. When the cam chain tensioner pushes, it's pushing this guide forward like that to put tension on the chain. If I move the cam chain away, you can see way down there where it's mounted onto the gear that's connected to the crankshaft. When I was making the video on the camshaft orientations, I was playing with this chain and putting it over the gears and stuff. And I think because I was doing that, it came off down below at the crankshaft. So when you're doing yours, make sure you hold tension up on it like this so it doesn't come off below. Otherwise, you're going to have to do what I'm going to do, which I kind of wanted to do anyways for filming, was to remove part 1 and part 2, which were the timing cover and the timing chain cover gasket. So here's the timing chain cover. I'm going to have to remove all these bolts. And then we'll be able to see the bottom of the cam chain and how it hooks onto the gear. So I have this motorcycle in extreme wheelie mode, and I think I'm going to have to rotate it down. Otherwise the oil's going to come out of that cover. So here's the oil level indicator, and you can see there's no oil in there. Here's the bottom of that cover I want to take off. So I would imagine, it's hard to tell whether it's, the oil is up above this bolt or not, but I'm not going to risk it. I rotated the bike so it's level, and I went ahead and drained the oil. Don't know if that was necessary or not, but I didn't want any oil dripping out from down here. The reason I'm taking this timing chain cover off here is because the timing chain goes down along here and around this gear. And I think it fell off when I was filming. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this cover off. You can see above that cover is where the cam chain tensioner went. So let's go ahead and get that taken off. So I'm going to be using a 5mm to loosen all these bolts. I'm going to be loosening in a crisscross pattern. Make sure it's pushed in fully. I'm just going to loosen these all slightly and then spin them out. So you never know if these are all the same length. And on my Suzuki, one of them was different. So what I do is I take a piece of cardboard and make a template. So now I have a template, and I won't get these screws messed up when I go to put them back in, especially if they're different lengths. I have a couple of rags handy to go catch any drips. I also have an oil tray down below just in case anything drips out. I almost lived for 30 years without one of these impact drivers. It sure saves a lot of time. That's a little faster than just spinning it out with an Allen key. Anyway, that works out pretty good. I can just go like this now. So all my bolts are organized now. Looks like they're all about the same length, but you never know. Well, I guess sometimes you do know, but in this case I didn't. It's interesting. Looks like this one has a little bit of gasket stuff on the tip. I'm not able to just pull it super easy with my fingers. It's not popping off. I'm going to try tapping it gently with a soft rubber mallet. That doesn't seem to be doing anything. I'll try to tap a little harder carefully. I can hear it. Seems like that's making it come off. I can feel it loosening up. Seems to be loose at the top, but I'll hit it down here at the bottom a little. Better get my oil pan back under there. You can see the oil starting to drip out the bottom. Go ahead and wipe that off. See if we can get this to come off now. It's definitely off. Maybe I'll just try pulling after I tap a little more down here. Try not to wreck the gasket even though I have a new one. It's definitely off at the top, and I see oil dripping out. Looks like I got all the bolts out. Definitely dripping oil down in that oil pan. So I have it loose everywhere except here. You can see how it jiggles. It's jiggling back and forth, but it's stuck in here. So if you just keep carefully jiggling it back and forth, it should loosen up. Almost got it off now. Maybe there's a dowel pin. Ah, that's what it is. I'm guessing there's probably a dowel pin here. Anyway, and pulling straight out now. I see the gasket kind of, probably not gonna, I see the cam chain tensioner dowel right there. That's what that is. Pushing my finger back, you can see that dowel come out of there. You can definitely see some kind of a gasket material, like a silicone or something here. So here's the dowel. That's going to have to go back into this hole here. So this is an interesting little hump here. They go to put it back on. Wonder if that's just part of a casting. You can see the webs here. But let me look closer, see if that goes somewhere. I don't think it does, but I'll find out. So there's definitely a lot of oil in here. I'll sop a little of that up with a clean rag for now. Oh, there's the rest of the gasket. Definitely going to replace that. The good thing is it only goes on one way. Can't flip it around because it's asymmetrical. So you can see what happened to my chain. Should be on these teeth right here. But it's fallen off this funny loop, and that's because I was filming. And if you were doing this job and not filming, you wouldn't have been screwing around like that. But I don't see how I could have got this chain to slide back up where it goes because it's catching here on the tooth. Probably gonna have to pull it out a little. Before I do that, you can see this is the timing chain guide exhaust side. The chain slides up and down on that right here. This is the timing chain guide intake side. And when we go to put it back together, I'm going to have to line up this hole here, that hole behind it, and then there's that dowel pin on the cover. So that'll go like that. So I'm pulling the timing chain up from the top there, and then the other side, pulling it up. You can see how I couldn't get it up. It was just catching on that tooth. So the timing chain guide intake looks like it. You could pull the whole thing out like that. The exhaust side, it does wiggle a little bit. So I should be able to get this chain back where I want it by sliding it out here a little and then pulling it up. Better pull it from the top too. And then if I can get it back on the gear, but it'd be fun to actually see if we can see the gear right now since we've gone this far. So we know the chain is going to run on this side of the guide. So I'm going to just pull this out for fun. See what it looks like. So when you go to put in the timing chain guide intake side, you got to slide it in right there. Like that. And then it will mount on this hole right there. And then you can see it pivots. So I took that off because I wanted to show you under here and I wanted to see myself. Take this chain off like that and see the gears that it interfaces with. So this is on the end of the crankshaft, and that's what we set at 125 degrees before top dead center. So you don't want to move this gear because that's how the timing works. So the timing chain goes around here, and then it goes up to the two gears that run the camshafts. So it doesn't matter where the chain goes on. Down here, could be like be on that tooth, or you could slide it over one tooth and it wouldn't matter. So you got to make sure this doesn't fall off. So you don't have to take this cover off. See right there, now I've got it on there really good. If I pull up from the top, See, I've got all the slack out of it. So what a lot of people have a problem with is down here on this bottom run. This is the run that goes up to the exhaust cam gear, and there'll be some slack, not on this top part here, but down here there'll be some slack like that. And then if you line everything up and you don't pull the slack out like that, then your timing will be off. So now that I took off that timing guide intake side, kind of fun, you can see inside this hole here, you can see the main drive gear right in here. That would be interfacing with the clutch, and if you look deeper you can actually see one of the connecting rods behind that gear. Right above my finger, you can see the gear, and back in there you can see a connecting rod. You might even be able to see part of the crankshaft. Of course, you're just seeing one connecting rod. So I'll have to clean up this surface, put a new gasket on there, and I'll have to clean up this mess, clean all this off. That's a good view of the timing chain guide exhaust side. Right above my finger you can see where the cam chain tensioner comes in. So there's this one bolt up here. You swing around to the front. You can see the chain going over that bolt at the top, kind of in the middle of the screen. Looks like it just screws into the side of the valve train. So I put the cam chain guide intake side back in. You can see it rotating up. It's hard to film in this hole, but you can see with my finger, see how that rotates up there? If you took the chain here, it would be going back like that. You can see how it rocks. So we should be able to get this back together now.